Oh, President, oh, the land of the free ain't as free as it used to be. The U.S. tanking in economic freedom under your watch, sir. And this year, we aren't even in the top 10 anymore. Is Obamonomics destroying the American dream? Plus, remember when Greenpeace used fake Santa to scare the heck out of our kids?
There may be no alternative but to cancel Christmas.
Well, now liberal lawmakers are jumping in bed with greenies and pressuring TV networks to cover more climate change stories. But should we be pulling the plug on lefties dictating the news? And then
you can do this.
And it's hard.
I know it's hard, and this is going to make you stronger. If you quit, you're not going to get stronger.
A new tough love show about Pee Wee football getting flagged for being too harsh on kids. But I say, throw the flag on the critics for causing the wussification of American men. Start the game clock. Cashing In starts right now. Hi, everybody. I'm Eric Bowling. Welcome to Cashing In. Our Cashing In crew this week: Wayne Rogers, Jonathan Honig, Michelle Fields, and Jamu Green. Welcome, everybody. America's freedom is slipping away, literally. Take a look at this. When President Obama was sworn into office, the U.S. was 6th in economic freedom worldwide. Now we've fallen out of the top 10 to 12th place behind countries like Chile, Estonia, Mauritius. The reason? The report says we're being taxed more and regulated to death. And Michelle, you say President's policies are to blame.
Absolutely. You know, the countries that are beating us because they're implementing policies that America used to have, the policies that made this country great. And as soon as Obama took office, there have been 18,000 new regulations since he's been in office. And the cost of regulations from 2009 to now has been $494 billion. And we don't see the economy getting back on track. I mean, only 74,000 jobs were added in December. It's absolutely ridiculous. He's hurting our country.
Wait, there's going to be a quiz after the show. The first person to be able to find Mauritius on the globe wins. It happens to be a little island nation somewhere in the, I don't know, the Mediterranean, Indian Sea, I guess it is. How can we be behind Mauritius, Chile, Estonia?
Well, it's easy. When you got a guy in the White House who doesn't believe in economic freedom, that's fairly easy. I mean, it's a fascist type of economy where he thinks that the government should be the partner of everybody in business today. You know, what's really interesting, Eric, is that the bottom 3 nations in the world are, you would guess easily, North Korea, Cuba, and Zimbabwe. These are totalitarian governments. That tells you right away the difference between freedom, economic freedom, a free market society, and those that are run by totalitarian dictators.
Very good. Hey, Jamu, part of the thing, part of the numbers that go into this list are taxes. Under President Obama, he raised the top income rate from 35 to 39.6%. He raised capital gains taxes. He raised payroll taxes for everyone, and maybe estate taxes. It goes on and on and on. We'll be lucky to be 12th next year and the year after.
Well, freedom is not just another word for nothing left to lose, no matter what conservatives want you to think. First of all, you can't just come up with a survey of economic freedom that has nothing to do with economic growth, that has nothing to do with political freedom. But let's look at the countries that are topping this list. They have universal health care coverage. Hey, something that all of the panelists argue against. And their union density is sometimes 10 to 20 points higher than what the U.S. has. So what say you, Eric?
Well, what say me is it does have a lot of those things that you mentioned in it, in their study. It has rule of law, has regulatory efficiency, has open markets, has limited government. Jonathan, I'm going to go to you on this. One of the worst scoring we have in this survey is limited government. We score a 48 out of 100 on government spending and only 66 out of 100 in fiscal freedom.
Yeah, and Eric, our trajectory is down, and that's a shame. This is a shanda. I mean, America once epitomized freedom, economic and political freedom, and those are interchangeable. I mean, a free market means free people. The economy is how free people interact in a free society. And it started under Bush, but it's worsened under Obama. Yeah. We're the only country, Eric, that's gone down every year for the past 7 years. And it's taxes, it's regulation, it's intervention, it's the loss of property rights, and it's also the loss of choice. We've seen that most recently with the president's health care plan.
But here's the thing for me. It's not like we weren't warned of this. Listen to this soundbite that we dug up from right at the very beginning of President Obama's presidency. It may have been even before, and we still elected the guy. Watch.
If somebody wants to build a coal-powered plant, they can. It's just that it will bankrupt them.
So go ahead, Michelle. I mean, he warned us. There it is. There's a shot to the coal industry saying, I'm going to bankrupt you. That's not economic freedom.
No, it's not. And this is not surprising. I mean, look, we have the NSA spying on us. We have the EPA destroying businesses, healthcare being taken over. It's no surprise. I mean, we have an administration that makes a new rule, a new law, it feels like almost every single day in order to justify their existence and continue to make our lives more difficult. You know, and I don't see this economic recovery that he talks about. The number of people who have been unemployed for 27 weeks or longer continues to hold steady at 3.9 million people. That's not a recovery. No wonder we're dropping under economic freedom on this list.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, well, I wish I could say the GOP is a lot better, but Eric, remember, it was Romney who was for bailouts for Detroit, who was for more regulation of banks and financiers. So we need really a moral revolution in this country. I don't think it's by party. I think it's by philosophy. It's back to the old Americanism, the Americanism that said profit is good, self-interest is good, economic freedom is good. We're headed into the other direction.
And Jamo, you want to jump in here, but can I just pile on with Jonathan here? I agree with you. I'm not saying we need a moral relook at ourselves. It's a more libertarian look, a more conservative capitalism and libertarian look, and that's what we try to do week after week on this show. Go ahead, Jamo.
Well, I think it also matters whose economic freedom you are talking about. Is it the economic freedom of CEOs not to have to report their corporate profits correctly like Sarbanes-Oxley requires them to do? Or are we looking at the economic freedom of workers whose productivity has gone up, profits have gone up, but who has benefited from this? CEOs, none of this is going going the skyrocketing income inequality. I'm concerned for the workers and their economic freedom. Minimum wage, that's economic freedom.
It's such a ridiculous statement saying you don't have to do this and violating Sarbanes-Oxley. You don't know what you're talking about, Jamu. I happen to sit on a New York Stock Exchange company board. We are so careful about complying with Sarbanes-Oxley and everything. Everybody's terrified about Sarbanes-Oxley. You don't know what the hell you're talking about.
That's one of the ways they marked these countries on this war.
Wait a minute. Let me ask you something. You started to tell me about freedom and all of that, political freedom and all of that. Tell me why then Zimbabwe, Cuba, and North Korea at the bottom of the list. Explain that to me.
I pay no attention to a list that is twisted on right-wing conspiracies. So, Wayne, a list that does not even judge economic growth means nothing. A list that only focuses on the economic freedom of the wealthiest Americans means nothing. So we could be at the top of this list, and it would mean nothing because it's just a twisted definition of freedom. You can't just make up a new definition of what economic freedom is.
One of the things we do score well on is worker freedom, and that would be a good thing, and I think that would be one of the things that you would say would be good about this list. Jonathan and then Michelle, very quickly.
Very quickly, well, freedom means freedom from force, and all these interventions, taxes, regulation come from government, which is force, and it's government force not directed against criminals, but against CEOs who are actually productive, beneficial, moral parts of the economy.
So are their employees.
Self-interest.
So are their employees.
So why don't they pay them? All their employees get
a living wage.
Their employees don't get paid?
Their employees don't get paid?
Another discussion. Maybe we'll do that next week. Go ahead, Michelle. Wrap this up. Tie it up in a nice bow for us.
Look, if we want more economic freedom, let's allow businesses and entrepreneurs to work. Let's not have the government continue to destroy their businesses and intervene in their lives. Yeah. That's how we get more economic freedom.
All the taxes have gone up and 18,000 new regulations, as Michelle pointed out early in the block. We're going to leave it right there, guys. Coming up.